We're trying to figure this damn thing out. Practice mode wouldn't even let me display anything on my tablet, so guess we'll just run for it or go for it. Hell, I don't know. I'm just getting my washes together that I always use. I use the same four primary colors on 99.9% of my miniatures. Can you give me a thumbs up real quick if you can hear me? Everything seems to be going okay. All right, so what we're going to be going over is how I approach biological realism as far as starting with the washes, the underpainting for what a lot of people would consider. For me, this is my bread and butter on everything. I even do it on armor, cloth, so just depends what I'm going with. When I do a full white or gray primer like this, I'm not looking for any focal points. Life has no focal points. There's no composition, right? Composition is for competition, or if you're wanting to draw the eye to certain areas. When I'm doing full biological, excuse me, realism, I do the full thing in white because everything I'm going to apply the same amount of texture and grotesque layering as I would on anything. So again, I'm going to go full biological realism with this because I have the whole thing painted white. I always use the same 4 primary colors to establish my temperatures. The reason I say temperatures is because the different types of bruising or texture of the body is temperature. So let's say I wanted some bruising, depending on the type of bruise, I might base it with blue. If I'm going to go for rot, yellow. But like I said, 90% of the time, these are the 4 colors I always use. You don't have to use Vallejo. I just happen to like them. I understand the pigments. I've been working with them forever. If you're using these, one thing I'd caution, yellow will wipe everything out. So you want everything else you want yellow to dry decently, depending on what your goal is, while you're mixing everything else up. And if I'm going for extra rotting flesh, or depending on the undertones, I will use sepia. It's one of my favorite. In fact, that's what my oil washes start with, is sepia. And that's how I get the kind of the grotesque, different tones. I'll give you an example on this guy. So like here, how's the lighting? Is that too much for you guys? Is that better? So you can see under here, some of the tones that are happening on it. So we'll get started. I don't do anything special. I don't use a wet palette for this. I just put it right on my platform here, on my cutting palette. I'm poorly set up. There we go. And this is going to be kind of fast and furious. I've kind of got a medical condition where I only have half the blood in my body, so I'm trying to keep the energy up to go at least through the wash stage with you guys, so you can see what you can do. And we can do different zones if you want a hotter, more rotting zone, cooler. We could do the different areas because I picked him specifically for this video because of all the different textures. And I got this from NS Miniatures. So you can get it, I believe, off of my miniature or whatever the heck it is, but they have some great sculpts. So since we're going to be doing a lot of rotting flesh, my basic color setting we'll start off with, and I want some infestation, right? We've got a lot of disgusting bruising. So I'm going to start out with the yellows and reds. And if you got questions, I'll do the best I can to answer them. I've got my tablet up so I can catch everything after the fact. I always put down way too much wash. That's why typically I go through so damn fast too. That's all right. So again, I appreciate you guys joining. This is my first official live, and I'm trying to show what everybody keeps asking about. I know it's cheesy. I always say texture is truth, but the reason being is I'm more like a traditional oil painter, I guess. I start everything under the flesh, and it's just like laying with acrylics. You can, whether you do oil painting or acrylics, you can do either way. What I would typically do at the beginning, depending on how much of the primer I have on, there's a certain amount of drag depending on the color I use. I'm going to primarily do, well, we'll start yellow here. I'll show you the different things. So we'll do yellow here, red here, then I'll show you how the two different zones work depending on what colors we're going to incorporate with it. It's pretty simple at this point. And I will get shaky. Like I said, I have a lot of blood loss. I only have the amount, half of blood in my body that I'm supposed to have. So I don't have the energy. I'm going to change brush so it's quicker for you guys. So my energy depletes really quick. But that's all right. We'll have fun as long as I can rest my arms down. And at this stage where there's no, we don't care what it looks like. And this is more like a special effects people, or like large, those large collectible models or figurines. They flood everything with the skin tones, and this is how they make the skin look alive. So if it looks familiar, I've realized I taught myself to do that as well. So, and right now I don't care about pulling. I just want the wash all over everything because I want to make sure that I can control the amount of drag on the next washes. I know it sounds weird, but I've been doing this enough hours to where I know how much wash and what color I can use where. We're just going to screw it. We're going to do the whole belly and everything yellow. He's going to be grotesque anyways. God, that's washing out, isn't it? Let me color that. Apologize again, guys. This is my first one, and I'm trying to get get this all set up. So it should be better after the, assume you can see that better, I hope. If not, I'll turn off the overhead lights too. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Just tired all the time. But we're getting better. So my levels are going up on their own. And I'm just waiting for some more answers. And if you know me at all, my colors are always going to be the same. But as I mentioned at the beginning, I'll get the CP out of here. These are the 99.9% of the time, guys, when you see my skin, these are the colors. These are the primary colors. I either use it for graphic designing, printing, and on the printers. Give me a second here. I'm going to turn this overhead light off and see if it gives you a little better look. Hopefully that lightens it up for us some, or darkens it. Apologize. That's a little better. I think I'm a damn heating pad on too. All right, I am going to push this around a little more. All I did was dip my, I'll bring this in, dip my brush in the water. You see, I don't use a wet palette. Everything's over here. I'll put some puddles of water, or I'll dip water, and I know how much I want. I will wick it off as well still. But there is no, I mean, there is a method to the madness, but it's also through a lot of practice and error, or trial and error. All right, so we're going to start bringing in some of the color. We want to make them look kind of bruised, but we want it infectious. So since the yellow is still wet, it's going to give me a different temperature than just being with yellow and red. I know it's kind of hard to see in this light. That is definitely something I need to change up. Oh, well, we got everybody bouncing already. Here we go. And I'll just do this side with the red and this side with the purple so you can see the different temperatures. I wonder if I lift that up, if that helps. And again, I don't use a wet palette much. When I'm doing non-metallic metal, I use a wet palette just because it takes me a little longer and I'll stretch it out. So right now we just have the red in the chest. How do I get this darker so you guys can see better? Lighting. Of course, it doesn't give me the option. All right. So the yellow is still wet, but so it's gonna give it a weird, well, not a weird, but it gives it a little clarity where it looks clear, where it looks like it has tendons, and it decreases the weight some. And this is just fast and furious. I'm not being anything specific. I'm just trying to show you guys a little quick technique on how to get some different flesh just from the washes for underpainting. The purples I love using for weight. What I mean for that is I use purple all the time for increasing weight and depth. Black, the only time I use black is obviously in the eyes of my stuff. When I like the creepy, deep, hollowed black eyes. So when you wash like this, you want natural little pooling because we're going to do some crazy indentation, or Jesus. We're going to make it where it's a little more infested, geez. But we'll get it there. All right, so we're getting a little separation of these two so you can see what purple over yellow does and what red over yellow does. And I'll use a blow dryer just for the sake of the video to speed it up. I mean, I do use it on occasion anyways, otherwise I wouldn't have one. But it's gonna be loud, but for you guys, I want to be able to go a little quicker and show the result. Because the washes will act differently when they're wet versus dry. Right now you can see wet, everything's pulled up nicely. And we have the harsh transition. Dry, I can create exactly where all the staining is going to be. And I'll use hardly any water and I will wick out the brush quite a bit. So I'll dry this off real quick off screen for you guys. All right, that's a good start. So the reason I like putting it on wet, cooping it on wet, is because it will pull up a little more. With the amount of sores that he has, we can really accent it better. So now on this side, since we're going to do a heavier version of the growth, I'm going to use the blue on here. I'm not going to go. So what's going to happen is we have yellow underneath the purple. It will give us a little green hue, and that obviously helps me with my rotting portion because I'm all about rot under the flesh, obviously. Hey, KS, what's up? This is the very first one, so this is already a feces show. But at least I'm doing it right. We got to start somewhere. And I've been promising everybody on my YouTube channel forever. So the good thing is I'm sure a lot of people won't be able to see it. Or that's not a good thing. But I will break it up into a video a little more comprehensive. So again, we will get a subtle change. God, this lighting's horrible. Lessons learned. We should get a little bit of green, slightly, but it's going to be heavier. I'm just going full blue right now over the purple and yellow, just because I'm flooding it. And then you'll see how, I hope this light works well. You'll see how you start getting some of the natural biological changes of flesh. And since that's still wet, I'm going to throw some purple in there too, because I love purple. But the purple will give it depth. And sometimes I will wipe back just to kind of see what we have going on. And it's going on super wet today because I'm kind of hurrying for you guys. But while that is drying, there's things that I like to do that I'll show you. So you see all the different depths and sorenesses on the chest. I like to stipple the washes in too. So easy way to do that is I get myself a brush, a flat brush. I don't know if you can see that. Flat brush or brush you don't care about, but I go through brushes. And I still wick it off on the brush on the, or the paper towel on the side, and I'll just start smashing it in there. And it's subtle, but it will start building up texture a little at a time. And you got to make sure each time, see, look at already, you got to make sure each time that you wick some of it off on your paper towel. You don't want to go full-blown soaked, because then it's just going to pool. We want the brush damp. So I'll give you an example here down on the cloth, loincloth. See the difference? It's not flooded in, it's just kind of stippled in there. All right. So again, we're going to do some more stippling, and it will give it more texture, and we'll give it depth, and I'll bring it down to the belly. There is no wrong way, guys. It's all experimentation. Just keep practicing it. God, this is so dark, or so bright. I don't want it this bright for you guys, but that's the lightest I can get this thing. So the purple side is starting to dry. So we're going to do the same thing. Like I said, we broke this up in zones. So I'm going to do the red through here, and you're going to see with all the different colors what the texture looks like. And this is where the effects start coming in. People are like, how do you get all that different coloring? Look at the chest already. You see that? So fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, being in the military and then as a phlebotomist for a while, I've had to transport limbs. I've seen tons of injuries. This is what starts creating realistic skin, because it has different tones and temperatures under the skin, under the flesh. And look at my flesh. You can see veins. You can see old marks. You know, I'm pretty pale though. But when you are wanting, even if you're painting white skin, you do this underneath, and it's going to give it a much more lively appearance. There's nothing wrong with painting on top of your white to create those effects, but to me, this is a lot more effective. It creates the realism which I'm looking for, and obviously the work speaks for itself. But we're going to go really gross and nasty on this guy. Again, I always use the 4 primary colors, which is just yellow, red, purple, you know, or cyan, whatever. And then blue, and it's the same thing that digital printers, digital marketing does. So you can see how the coloring is already much better, right? So if you go over that, even with acrylics or oil painting, whatever you want, I will actually probably do a paid portion on how I use the oils over top of the skin. But you could, for a lot of people, especially just tabletop, you could leave it like that. You can put a gloss over it. You can make it however shiny or muted sheen you want. But that's already disgusting. All right? So we're already hit it. And I technically have only done this for 5 minutes. I've prepped more and talked more than I have for. And we're going to go all the way around with the red. Screw it. We're having fun. Again, remember you're wicking off the brush when you're stippling. So there we go. When I talk about, I love using the purples for, man, that camera, using the purples for depth. I'll show you right now what I mean. So see the muscle separations, right? It's kind of hard. He's got them, you know, he might not be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he's got the separation of the fat rolls. These are naturally going to be darker zones. So those are areas that I look for as far as shadowing. That's how I make a determination what I'm going to do. So on this, my brush will actually be drier, and I'm still going to do broad strokes because it's underpainting. Who cares? And I get quite a bit of paint on there, but I will brush it off until it's light. And then I'll come in and start hitting the areas that I want to do muscle separation. And if it's too big, then just get you like a number 1 brush. 0, I guess I'm using 0 all the time. Jesus. And then just get you a little, and then you can actually go in where it's depressed and then under the belly, because that's all going to be weight. And purple, again, guys, if you're just new to painting, don't ever use black. Black is horrible unless you're going to do cool eyes. Purple will give you a lot more creativity and flexibility, and it gives you depth. I've learned from my instructor that I have no problem going dark, right? So I've had to learn to embrace more of the light, which sounds funny. So under the pack, I'm going to give more purple because that is going to be darker. And the good thing is I could bring this back with my paints. If it's too dark now, I could bring this all back with my oil paints or my acrylics. You can do anyway. And now, if you notice, another nice little side effect. So on this side, I have yellow and reds, and now I'm going over with purple. And it's going to create extra texture and coloring that you can't get out of a bottle. The reason I did this is I love Villainy inks. I love the guys at Grimdark Capodium. They're my favorite. Because of using those enamels, I started observing and realizing how they work, and so I wanted to be able to learn to paint the effects. I will still use the Villainy inks on occasion. I think they're great, especially doing tabletop stuff. But I've been focusing really hard on how to create that look instead of just using the enamels. And again, I love it. I will never not probably use it. It'll always be part of the arsenal, but it depends on my overall. Okay. All right, so notice the difference. See, already we got some beautiful skin. You could leave it like this. It's going to be disgusting, right? So over here, we got is the base of the yellow. Come on, light. We have the base of the yellow on his right side. You're looking at his left. And the yellow dried. Then I went over stippled red. And now I'm brushing in just pure purple washes. Again, these are just washes. And I will wick a little bit off of the purple, but you can control it. And you can see through the belly zones, I put the purple where it's natural separation. Now you want to go disgusting. I said I always use 99.9% of the time. I use the primary colors, the blue, red, yellow, and purple. So let's make his head a little more deprived of life. Blue, obviously, is kind of a lack of oxygen. So let me put blue on his head. And I'm not doing a heavy wash on this one. I'm just going to push it around. And since there's green on, there's yellow on here, it's going to give a little bit of green hue. But since the yellow is completely dry, it won't interact as much. So that's the thing with the washes. If you let them completely dry, yellow and blue, right, makes green. That's the basic. Even I know that. But I will intentionally use that to my advantage to create more textures. So I had the yellow and a little bit of blue on there. So you start seeing it's deprived of oxygen, right? It has a different level of complexity to the head. Now, I said sepia is my most favorite color to create rot. Reason being is if you put it around blood, it looks like it's coagulated. You put it around tissue because it has a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green. Sepia is beautiful. This stuff is one of my favorite. I'm surprised. It's Warhammer sepia, but you can use any sepia. This is just a really strong pigmented one. The sepia from Vallejo, I don't like as much. But again, these are personal choices. Use what you have. You manipulate them the way you want. As you can see, I just put them right on my damn cutting table, and voila. He's not quite dry. He's close enough. We're experimenting, right? We're playing. Now this I will thin out more. I can't move the camera, but to where you're getting the consistency if you're on a wet tablet or wet palette, to where you're getting for glazing. So I'm kind of thinning out by wicking off into a glazing level with the sepia, because I don't want to flood it. I actually want to paint with it. Is everybody catching on so far? I mean, I know I just go crazy and go forward. So right now we're going to show 3 different temperature zones based off of my crazy mind. And what have we been doing this? Well, it says I've been online for 27 minutes, but I think it took me longer to figure out how to hit the live button. So you can see how we change the tone, how it has the sickly yellows and all that. Now watch this. By going a little lightly with the blue, with the sepia, I'm going to start getting some really cool colors. And there'll be a green hue to it, a little bit yellow, and I'm stippling this again, guys. And the reason being is because I don't want consistent marks. I mean, I can make it look like there's blood vessels on it just from stippling. I don't have to use my oil brushes. So that's just a layer of the yellow, of the sepia, and then stipple just a little bit of blue. But then, while it's still kind of wet, I want to hit it with the yellow. Excuse me, hit it with the red. And it's going to give me my infections. And I'll show you here in a second. Oh, my shoulder is dying. We're not going down in the face. Okay. So you could see already how we have the different infection zones. So I have 3 separate zones already based off of temperature. Everybody agree? Yeah, just appease me and agree. And use the stippling. We have different colors going around. We have a little bit of green starting getting in there. But that is the Fast and Furious basis of my washes for underpainting. That's how you get the different tones. And then you can go about if you're using oils or if you're using acrylics. You can start layering, do thin layers. You can glaze over or whatever, depending on the opacity of the color you're using. But this is why I go into oils. This is more of a traditional oil painting mentality. I prep the canvas underneath for the temperatures I want, and then I start enhancing them with my oil painting. That's why I love it so much. How about his arm? Let's just make his arm starving. He doesn't have much oxygen. And sometimes I don't even rinse the brush that well because it's going to be all the colors that I want, that I'm using, and it makes it a little more cohesive. Yeah, I do use the 502s. I started out with artist grade, whereas there's nothing wrong with it. But when I found out that the 502s have less linseed oil in it, so it dries a little faster. That's why I went with them. And I love it. I've not turned back yet. I use it for everything. They have the beautiful earthy tones. They work great. And what I like about the oil painting is that it forces me to put the miniature down, let it rest, and then I get a true understanding what's happening with it texture-wise and temperature-wise. Because acrylics and oils, excuse me, guys, apologize. Acrylics and oils are they dry darker. So if you're big into edge highlighting and all that, it takes a lot more. So I can come in here with pure white, titanium white, go all over this, brighten it up, and then in a few hours, it'll actually look darker and it'll look like I never used titanium white. Just looks like I brought in natural highlights. And that's another thing that I like. Are they no grimdark basically just, no. So they're not the same as 502s. And I kind of reached out to them. So it's going to be like a heavy pigmented acrylic, which they have those, but it gets reactivated with oils. So they do dry much faster. For me, that's counterproductive for the oil painting that I do. But I am interested in possibly giving them a try just to see how much a difference they are between the 502s, the artist grade, and theirs. Because they're super heavily bodied, so it means that the pigment in the oil is heavy. But since it doesn't have the same oils, I'm going to get completely different characteristics than I do with my oils right now. That could be a plus or minus, but I like the ability and use that I have with my oil paints right now. But again, there's something for everybody, right? If it's intimidating for others, they don't like the drying time. But the pigmentation, the sheen, the transparency, the opacity, I'd imagine it's going to be a lot different. So, but I am curious. They're not cheap, but I might reach out to them and see if I can get a set to just compare them to the 502s. But that's my primary. So any question on this process so far, or is there another temperature that you guys would like to see? I covered 3 different zones already, and it's pretty easy. You just go back and forth and decide what you want. And this one is just the nasty, filthy one, right? I did heavy wash and stippling. I'll actually go in and pick zones, like let's say that pus. Once this dries, I'll go in and isolate certain spots and then hit it with whatever color I want to bring out more accent. Like the chest here right now, I actually can make it, I'll show you, a little brighter so I can prep it for my oil paints because it's yellow wash, right? You can hit little zones to change the temperatures even more. And this is not diluted, but it is wicked off. I definitely got to get better lighting though. So it's hard for you guys to see the transition. But this is like a good 20% darker than this side, and it's hard to see it on this. The back separation actually has a better idea. So if I hit it some more yellow, because I have blues back here, I'm going to start getting some green hues, which is actually really, really pretty. Obviously, if you look at my work, it's always the same colors. But I'm learning to embrace the light because I do go way too dark sometimes. And it gives me a lot more definition. I thought if I went light, I was going to lose my biological realism, which is not. Look at that. You can have a lot of fun with that. And let's say you're doing like a flesh zombie or somebody that's freshly dead, and you have this blue. If you want to make it more putrid and you want to get it closer to the tendon color, you take some yellow once it's dried, and we're going to mix it in there a little bit. I'm just going to do a couple of zones. And this is where I'll come in with the sepia to show you. So those are pus modules, so I want those a little heavier. And then I'll come in, I'll rinse off really good, and I'll come in with sepia. Again, that's where I like sepia. And it'll give me a more of a dead flesh tone. And the blues under it give it, where it looked like it just died. It had life. Is everybody following along all right, or am I just all over the damn place? So you can see it's starting to get a little more dead flesh. Now, when I go over it with my oil painting, it'll be 100% dead flesh. And then I could change the tonality. I've seen it mentioned in the Conclave Discord. Have you played with the transparent white oil paints at all? No. Reason being is I don't need to. What I like using is buff. Buff is beautiful. I use that now for bounce lights on flesh because it gives it a sheen and it still has the darkness, because even in the darkness, there's reflections. And I think we all forget that. And that's one thing that I've learned is once I incorporated light, reflective lights in the darkness, I got a lot more volume. And then also I use Naples yellow a lot to bring out the highlights of the flesh. So, and then I do come in with titanium white, but it doesn't look like white because it does blend in with the oils. I can feather it out and it just gives me nice highlight. So that's the basis of the foundation of some of the pusses. Now I'll show you if we just do isolated stuff, like I do down on the leg. I want to isolate the zone instead of flooding it, doing more of a paint with the wash. You'll get different effects too, because the pooling is going to get you all the different areas look like capillaries are breaking and stuff like that. Like in here, I should go in there harder with, in fact, I'm gonna stipple in some red. See, just did a little red, and since purple has depth, and then I'm gonna hit it with purple in there, because the purple is for bruising as well. So you can see how quickly I just changed those membranes. I'm gonna need more. Any other questions, guys, as far as what we're accomplishing here? A good understanding of the basics. I will break this down into a video because I know to me, I felt like I was going slow, but I whipped it out pretty quick. But that is the basis of all my skin. I use purples for the depth, for bruising, to give it weight. Obviously, you can use the reds and magentas to create your fleshly tones. And again, my primary colors are always just blue, red, yellow, and purple. And then sometimes I like going in with sepia for rot, especially on horns. I love using sepia on the basis of bones and horns because it just gives it a good start of the complexity. So I'm going to go in, and it's hard for you to see, but I'm hitting all the cracks with purple because I'm going to give it more weight through here. And I'm not doing the flooding on this one. I'm isolated everything. And then I can go in with more yellow or whatever color you choose, but I'm going to highlight these pus spots better because I want them to be brighter, and I'll focus on those more once I start painting. And at this point, I don't care if I go over the cloak or the metals because I could paint over those with the acrylics, right? Definitely give you ideas for your BG warband. You got to help me out here, man. I'm old and slow and only been doing this for a little over a year. What is BG warband? If you don't mind sharing. Yeah, and if you guys ever have questions, you can always shoot me questions like on Instagram and YouTube. I try to help people out as much as I can. Not to the point to where obviously I'm going through a full tutorial and taking you step by step. But as far as basic questions, I have no. Oh, black grail. Oh yeah, definitely. And actually, even for non-metallic metals, I do this too. The approach is a little different, but it's kind of the same because I like everything organic. My cloaks are the same. And like this guy, this is how he started out. I still have to do, but basically you see that all the same colors are in there. It's just all about placement and where I'm going to go. And then you got to have your separations. And this is for biological realism. I don't care about composition. Life isn't composition. I don't look outside and see, oh, look, this plant is highlighted and the sun is hitting it perfectly. And this zone is dark. For biological realism, I don't care about composition. Your eyes are going to get lost in the entire thing. For competition piece, yes, definitely going to have focal points. But everything starts the same, which is hard to imagine, but everything starts the same. And then I'll go in and refine it with my painting, whether you decide to go in with acrylic or oil paints. But the biggest thing is experimenting and playing and not being afraid to fail. Because at this stage, you're really not failing. You're not failing because it's all practice. And it's all underpainting. So worst case, you either strip it down or just paint over with dark paint and never look at it again. And so I'm being selective with and this is a beautiful flesh color. Red over yellow is one of my favorite. It really is. I mean, that's why I tend to do it the most. So even though my foundation is typically always the same, I can have 5 different pieces and they will look different, but they'll still have the same undertones because flesh is flesh, right? So you can see I'm just starting to infect that a little bit. Might do a little blue in the red. Just starving of oxygen. And that's how you have to think about it. It's all temperatures, right? It's not like, oh, what color I want this. What temperature do I want it to convey? Because rot, even though it's dead, conveys temperatures. And look, we have 3 different zone separations on there, and it looks natural for the most part. I mean, God, if you saw this guy coming down the street, I hope you wouldn't think it was natural. But it's the beginning of the flesh. So I will do a follow-up video, tutorial video, of oil painting on this, how I change the flesh, what I use, what are my color choices on that. But for now, that's pretty much all I got in me to be able to show this. Let me know, was this helpful at all, guys? Do I need to do more videos like this? Obviously slow down, break things down, but let me know in the comments if this is something I should keep doing or just keep it all to myself and just keep painting. But I do enjoy helping others because I get great pleasure out of painting. It's helped my mental health, and I genuinely do get excited over it. Appreciate it, Necro. All right, guys. Well, I'll give it another couple minutes if there's any other questions, even general questions on any of my pieces, I don't care, or approaches to priming, anything painting-wise. We could BS for a little bit, but I'm stopping at this point. One, because my shoulders are exhausted. At 2, this is pretty much where I wanted to take you guys. The next one I will do, the next live, we'll work on this guy because he's just beautiful. And we will establish harder zones on him or more contrast because he has bones. So I'll use the sepia and I'll probably fully block this guy. And this will probably be a long one. So, but yeah, that's it here. I'll give you guys a exclusive preview of a big dog that I'm going to do. The artist that created this asked if I would actually paint it because not a lot of people don't. And so I'm pretty excited about it. I got to do a diorama, but in the basket, look, there's guys in the basket. It hangs off, and I'm not going to glue the basket on. I think it's so cool. It just hangs there. Of course, now I can't get him on there because I'm on video. Yeah, of course not. So the basket hangs there. So I didn't realize these hands reach into the basket and then feed the big fleshly mouth. appreciate figurine. So he is not the main antagonist. This mouth is. And the story's going to be told in this. He'll be muted, but it has beautiful bones, lots of shields, flesh. So yeah, this is a big piece I'm going to do. Take my time with it. I'm going to do a little diorama on it, and then go from there. And then of course, we got this guy let me throw him. The consensus was I need to go nasty full grimdark with him, so I got to do a lot of kit bashing on him, which will be fine. So again, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody stopping in, and I'll break this down into long video form. It will be on my YouTube, but I will do links from the Instagram and TikTok. So again, I appreciate you guys. Have fun, paint carefree. If you got questions, shoot them out there for me. And remember, it's cheesy, but texture is truth. Have a good afternoon.